call me a chaos lover, call me a law defender, call me a neutral loser, whatever you want. I really liked Vengeance's endings personally. I've seen like some discourse about it online, which I'll also go over in this video because I have to like respond to every little dumb thing that I see. But yeah, I just want to talk about it because I really like Vengeance. Yes, recency bias is a thing, but I really appreciate, obviously spoilers, that the game doesn't actually have a neutral ending at all, like at least in the canon of Vengeance, obviously. Like you have, I'm gonna call them like Tao's and Yoko's ending because I kind of feel like calling them like just the new law or the new chaos ending or whatever people are settling on is pretty reductive and also like not the best descriptor of it. But like first of all, I'll just talk about like what isn't there. I think the fact that there isn't a neutral ending is really nice because like the number one criticism of Atlas's endings that like everyone has is that the neutral endings are like basically always like the perfect one that like you're supposed to get because Atlas is like very averse to like radical change of like any kind. Like pretty much every game of theirs has like really big centrist energy. Like maybe that's like me just being like American projecting onto like a Japanese product, but like that's not an original observation, you know what I mean? Devil Survivor 2 is like the worst example of that by far, and I love that game. But by like forcing you to have like, you know, this law ending and a chaos ending with Tao and Yoko, I think that does like a really good job at kind of just like, you know, forcing you to choose instead of just doing the cop-out where like humanity is perfect and everyone is happy because, you know, no big changes can like occur to the system or whatever. Some of the really annoying like Megami Tensei like YouTube video essayists are gonna have like a field day with that, in between like them getting mad at Yoko for not liking cars or something. And yeah, I'm sorry, I have to talk about that before I get into the endings because this is my channel, my rant, whatever. Like I've seen, like, yes, Yoko does have bad and really stupid takes. Like, the two that I can think of are... And I like Yoko as a character. I really like Vengeance in general. Its writing is not perfect. It, like, basically assumes you've played the original game for some reason. And so, like, it skips over a lot of things, especially with, like, Dazai's development and, like, what exactly Mastema did to him. Like, what... Like, he did the Whisper event from Shin Megami Tensei 4, where he learns Agibaryon, and suddenly he just forgets how to act. Like, they didn't describe what happened at all. They still had him, like, do the slick back hair thing. Like, his actor ate that shit up, but, like, what were the writers doing? I'm skipping over that. But, like, yeah, like, Yoko very much has... I heard somewhere on the internet that, like, Yoko has very big, like, first-year philosophy student, like, you're right, but who asks energy, and, like, that's so true. Like, personally, the only things that she said that I disliked were she was like, in the first area, when you choose to fight either Absaris or Linan Shi or whatever, like, she says something like, Absaris was basically trying to start, like, a compulsory education system, and that, like, sounds like a good deal, but that's not really how things work out, because people shouldn't be forced into doing things, like, whatever. But, like, she doesn't say that. She's just, like, she wanted to start compulsory education, and that's, like, a bad thing with how, like, things play out. It's like, what do you mean? Like, I think... I'm assuming that the writers were just, like, saying that because, like, Yoko, you know, she doesn't want people to be, like, forced into things, so, like, she thinks that, you know, education shouldn't be mandatory because if you force someone to learn, like, they're not going to, like, have a good time, and, like, she's chaos, so people should, like, have their freedoms be prioritized, blah, 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 that kind of thing. But, like, Absaris wasn't doing that. Like, Absaris was basically just, like, manipulating weak demons in order to worship her, and to... in exchange for, like, her protecting them, basically. And it's kind of ambiguous, like, if the weak demons didn't want to worship her, like, would they just, like, leave them to die or something? You know what I mean? Like, and then there's Linan Shi, who is, like, genuinely helping them, but also, like, objectively, like, shortening their lifespan, which is what the Epona Datara was talking about, and so it's kind of a priority of, like, you know, which one you think is more important. And, you know, Yoko like, question everything, wasn't acknowledging that at all. She was just like, yeah, I don't like Absaris, because she's forcing people to do things, and at least Linan Shi is, like, giving people a choice. It's like, okay, that's kind of dishonest of you. Like, that part isn't bad writing, it's, like, her being a biased human being, but, you know, or human being, you know, but, like, her only other bad take, like, really bad take, you know, like, you know, she's not perfect either way, is, when Amanazako is like, why are these bridges here? And Yoko was like, well, they're more convenient because if they go into like the sky or whatever, then you don't have to like worry about the stuff that's on the ground. And then Amanazako's like, okay, but isn't that like a waste of space and energy? And then Yoko was like, you know what, that's a good choice. You should always, or that's a good answer. You should always think about why things are the way they are and not take like your preconceived notion, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, Yoko, like, not to be like an American, but city planners are like infamously lazy. That's why they need like all these regulations and stuff. Like, they would not just like build a bridge like into the sky in a city just to do it. Like, it is because it's the only way to like avoid the stuff on the ground and to like actually get places faster. Like, I agree with her. I agree with Yoko's take. Like, fuck cars. Like, I saw this one like really obnoxious ass person in like a YouTube comment section talking about Yoko, where she was like, the fact that she's against cars is completely laughable. Like, they're so useful for transportation, and like, it's like Yoko's literally only take was like, yeah, cars are convenient. Like, she objectively says that, but it's hard to fully get around them or like behind them because they result in like a lot of deaths. Like, that's true, especially in the United States. Like, Tokyo, for example, is made in a way where you can just rely on public transportation. That's not the case in like 99% of the United States. And like, yeah, I use a car all the time, like, because I literally have to. But like, yeah, cars kill people all the time. Like, every time you use a car, you have to accept that like it might be your last time because you might get into a car accident. Like, that's not an unreasonable opinion to have, is it? Like, I don't know, that's so weird. But yeah, like, those are the only like things that really stuck out to me about Yoko. And then there's obviously Tao, who was like very idealistic, like Yoko says a lot of the time. Like, she's always like assuming the best in people and also assuming that like other people will act in that same way, not really accounting for those who are like, you know, doing things wrong or like manipulating the system or anything like that. Like, when it comes to SAHORI'S bullies, she's like, yeah, I'm gonna like stand up and defend my friend and everything, which a lot of people thought was like I was watching one of those like first time player reactions, and some people were like, oh yeah, when she was like, I'll kill your bullies for you, SAHORI, like, people thought that she was doing like reverse psychology or something. Like, I think that Tao was actually going crazy there. Also, Yoko saying that like she should just like kill her bullies, that was also crazy. Not sure what that scene was about. Like, no human being would actually say that, regardless of how much like magic school like trauma she's been through. Like, come on, dude. But like, yeah, like, Tao doesn't really reckon with like, you know, what should the bullies like actually face as a punishment? How can we stop bullying in the future, and so on? Like, at least Yoko thought about that. Like, her answer was bad, but again, it's just like another flaw in Tao's ideology, where, you know, she just like, again, assumes that people are always looking at things from like the most virtuous angle, and when they're not, she doesn't really have an answer beyond like hope for the future. And like, yeah, that's being reductive, but you know what I mean. But yeah, so actually talking about the endings, like I promised in this video, 8 minutes into it, like, I think that both endings are really good. It is kind of awkward that, like, as Satan confirms before you fight him, you do successfully end the mandala system, because it basically nullifies the fact that the world is, like, founded on the horned god's legacy, and that snake gods are, like, fucked up, basically. Because if the mandala system is over, then the world that you make is eternal now, and so the throne isn't going to be used in the future, like, ever. But the thing is, like, since I've actually thought about it now, like, it's not like that cancels out Yoko's, like, ideology or anything like that. Because the Kadishtu were the ones who actually cared about, like, the horned god and the snake god and all that. Like, they'd be pissed off, basically, outside of Yoko's ending. But Tao was always much more focused on humanity as a whole and their freedom. Like, yes, Yoko was working for the Kadishtu, but it's because she thought that was, like, the only option. Like, in her ending route, she's like, yeah, main character, you should, like, help us. Meanwhile, the Kadishtu, like, if they got their way, they would be like, no, he's a descendant of the horned god still, like, have Tiamat take the throne, she's the only one who deserves it, because she's been, like, oppressed, therefore she's correct, and all that kind of thing, you know what I mean? Like, Yoko is not a Kadishtu ideologue, she's just like, they're my only hope, and then when the protagonist is still alive, she's like, oh, never mind. Like, you know, that's her logic. But yeah, I really like both of the endings, because, and it's also really funny because I was, like, sometimes chaos, sometimes neutral, like, the entire time, because you can check your alignment on the world map and everything, and I found out after, like, replaying it, that I was, like, literally dead center in, like, the alignment, like, completely. Like, the very last choice that affects your alignment is when Yoko reveals herself, and you can say, like, I'm glad to see you again, or I won't let you, or something like that. I said, I'm glad to see you again. That gave me the Yoko root. When I reloaded that save file and I said I won't let you, I got the Tau root, and I'm not exaggerating. I was dead in the center. It was crazy. But yeah, I'm glad that I got the Yoko root, because I do like it a bit better. Because, like, in Tau's ending, it's like, yeah, I mean, like, it's basically like a perfect idealistic version of the world that currently exists, where, you know, everyone's needs are, like, taken care of, like, nobody's left alone or anything like that. And, like, yes, there are issues and people who will, like, cause problems and everything, and it's a law ending, like, you know, people will have to, like, sacrifice certain parts of themselves and be forced to do things that they don't want to do. But at the end of the day, like, they'll still be happy. You know what I mean? And then there's Yoko's ending, which I thought was weird at first, but after reflecting on it and seeing Tau's ending, I actually really love it, because in Tau's ending, you see the world that was created. You see the characters, including Yoko, who I guess was, like, also humanified and, like, made to forget everything. I don't know, it was just kind of funny seeing Yoko, like, in the opposite of her ending, you know what I mean? Like, you see all of the main characters, including Sahori, hanging out in school, and they're all, like, really happy, they're getting along and everything. Meanwhile, in Yoko's ending, you see the protagonist and Yoko walking into the new world beside the Tree of Life or the Tree of Knowledge. Not sure which one it's supposed to be, if either. And they walk there. You don't actually get to see the new world because it doesn't exist. You have to imagine it, basically thinking about what the ideal, like, more chaotic world would look like to you, based on what you believe and what Yoko described about it. Like, would there actually be, like, would it be like an anarchist, like, a paradise type of thing? Would it be like, I don't know, like a socialist utopia or something? I don't know, just throwing random ideas out there, you know? Because, again, like, it doesn't exist. There actually, like, isn't really a real world parallel or anything like that. And I don't know, I just think that's, like, a very interesting way to do it. And I also, like, I don't know, I just think it's, like, a very, not to be, like, a bootlicker or anything, but I don't know, I low-key think it's kind of, like, brave of them to have done that. Because Atlas is kind of, like, infamous for having, like, very short, unsatisfying endings, but it isn't like in Nocturne, where in the 3 Reason endings, it's, like, exactly the same animation of, like, skyscrapers showing up, when that's not how any of that would happen, and that's, like, incompatible with the 3 Reasons or anything. It's like, nah, you're just, like, literally in a void with your goddess GF, even though Yoko's, like, totally a lesbian, but I'm not getting into that. And then you just, like, walk off into the sunset. And I don't think it's perfect, because Yoko does look hella evil for no reason. Like, you know, Tau's ending is definitely presented as, like, the much nicer way, but I also think it, like, it still gives evil vibes. Like, it's very much, like, a very, like, sanitized, questionable, like, lawful society where, like, everybody's smile is a little too wide. But then you have Yoko's ending, which is like, we are creating a paradise as desired by everyone who has ever known suffering. It's like, you guys don't need to do all that. Like, there's still some of that, like, neutral bias, like, remnants from the Atlas writing team. Don't know what that's about, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of it, if I'm being honest. I really like the game, still working on 100%ing it. Do not like a lot of the bosses, though. I mean, I do like most of the bosses. It's just that, like, a few of them, like Tahome and Mastema, they had, like, twice as much HP as they should have. Don't know what that's about. Godhood mode was kind of disappointing, because I feel like it would have been a lot cooler if they kind of did the same thing that they did for Persona 5 Strikers, merciless difficulty, where, like, they actually changed the skill sets and stuff like that. Like, in Godhood mode, like, the Twilight critical Magatsuhi skill that the enemies have is replaced by Pierce, so that's nice, so you can't, like, repel, shield, or, like, use dampeners or anything like that for the most part. But I don't know, I just thought it was kind of, like, lazy that they just, like, made everything at level 150 and kind of left it at that. It's not bad or anything. Like, I still like the mode. I'm going to use it for, like, my New Game Plus playthroughs going forward and everything. But yeah, I don't know. Still really liked the game overall. I actually do think it has the best gameplay now. I think Apocalypse has been dethroned, which, like, thank God, because this game actually has a workable story. But yeah, okay, that's all. Bye.